Malcolm, again, I'm sort of hung up on the fact that the White House doesn't seem to be grasping the importance of this or is deliberately being misleading about it. But the fact is, you've written a book on this. The idea that they got, according to this indictment, as close as a software vendor to state election boards, that they were able to steal somewhere near 500,000 emails of voters with a lot of information. And the White House is carrying on about how no votes were changed. Look at this. This is from the indictment. They hacked the website of a state board of elections and stole information related to approximately 500,000 voters. This is in the indictment. I mean, Malcolm, it's naive for us to think they just walked away.
Well, it is naive for us to think that. And 2 years ago, when I wrote my first book, Plot to Hack America, on this, I had alleged that they were probably not going to play with the vote tallies. But there were other ways that the Russians, and remember, this is before the election, there were other ways that they could manipulate and suppress votes. They could change voter registration information. When the first news media report came out in late September, early October 2016, where the evidence had been gained that Russians had gone in and had been scanning and looking at the voter registration rolls, I had actually joked on air that junior Russian military intelligence officers need something to do too, right? And in this case, that is precisely what this indictment alleges. They show that these teams, junior officers and other officers who are not mentioned in that indictment, also went out there and started scanning these voter registration rolls for pathways in and for activities we have yet to determine, right, because our election was never audited.
So, Mari, you look at the indictment, and there are lots of things in here, and for a non-lawyer like me, there's lots of things that aren't in here, but for a lawyer like you look through here and you think, wow, there's references to people who aren't named. You have the impression that the special counsel's office knows who those other people are. Why are there things that don't seem to be in here that they make references to?
That's a standard way that you list out material. Anyone who's either unindicted or may never be indicted is not supposed to have dirt put on their name, if you will. So Organization 1 is a reference that very clearly is WikiLeaks, and NBC's confirmed that. Other references, as an earlier guest of yours referred to, appear to be Roger Stone based on other leaks, but we wouldn't say that that's 100% confirmed by Mueller's office. Right. So we have to be very careful about that because people who are subjects and targets of the investigation may not ultimately be charged. So that's a standard way that you do this. Richard Nixon was famously an unindicted co-conspirator in the Watergate proceeding, which was a different type of prosecutor, but the same concept applying. I think what is so significant here, as we await the trial of the chairman of the Trump campaign, and we have other people who are cooperating, is that Bob Mueller is moving methodically through each aspect of what has been the revealed or known interference. If it doesn't lead to the top, if Donald Trump ultimately said wild, irresponsible, many people feel disturbing things in public, but there isn't the evidence to prove that he was involved in these conspiracies, we would not expect, based on the way it works, that Bob Mueller would overreach or do anything else. But he's clearly showing, and we're seeing today more than we've ever seen before, that there were, in his view, and these are allegations, these are not proven yet in court, but in Bob Mueller's view, he is arguing and alleging that there are Americans, some unnamed, who were on the receiving end of what the Russians were doing.
Right, and the White House's pushback to that is that there's no evidence that those Americans on the receiving end either knew they were talking to Russians because they used anonymous names or knew they were engaging in a crime. That's interesting, and it may be true. It is not the obvious place that what do we say in the law, that a reasonable person, that's not exactly where their mind...
No, and you've been drilling this in your reporting today, and I think it's an important point. Just because people are accustomed to Donald Trump operating first from self-interest and not national interest doesn't make what we're seeing tonight, what we're seeing abroad tonight, so riveting. The President of the United States preparing for the summit here with Vladimir Putin, kicking over rhetorical tables in the NATO meetings when he knew this was coming, praising Putin, saying that might be the easiest. Think back to that sound we heard earlier this week, and our viewers may remember it. Donald Trump saying, you know, out of everything abroad,
This is going to be my easiest meeting.
This could be the easiest thing. He was saying that at a time that today the DOJ confirms he knew. Why would it be an easy meeting?
Really an interesting
Why
point.
would it be an easy meeting if Russian agents for the first time are going to be publicly confirmed as part of the felonious criminal hacking designed to impact the election? Why would that be
Malcolm,
easy?
this is a very good point. Donald Trump, if he knew this was happening, that easy meeting, which, by the way, nobody else in the world thought would be the easiest meeting, just became harder. Because now, in addition to the list of things we don't know that Donald Trump will talk to Vladimir Putin about, there's zero chance that he can't have this discussion with Vladimir Putin, or that a reasonable person would not have that discussion with the president of Russia.
Yeah, but you're talking about a reasonable person. On the other hand, we're talking about Donald Trump. He is not a reasonable person when it comes to Vladimir Putin. This is where all of the suspicion lie. The president of the United States has been briefed on a spy activity within the United States. And let me emphasize, Ken Delaney touched on it very well earlier. This indictment is a masterful piece of spy writing. If you read everything that's in there, there is some brilliant intelligence tradecraft in there. You are looking at how intelligence becomes evidence. I mean, great details in there. The president of the United States knew this. He knew we were about to indict Russian spies for attacking the American electoral system. But to him, none of this matters because he lives in an ideological bubble where none of this is real. And that's where I think he has no problem going to Vladimir Putin. If he mentions it, it'll be mentioned with a giggle. But that does not mean that we are safe. We are now seeing how the sausage of Russian intelligence tradecraft is made, but with a president of the United States who refuses to take any defensive actions against it.
Remarkable. All right. Thanks very much to all three of you, Ari, Ken Delaney, and Malcolm Nance.